From the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus Fiber Internet, offering Connexus expanded newscast is brought to you by Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. And as always, the morning show news streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. The DeWitt County Sheriff, Mike Walker, announced Monday he will seek re-election in the upcoming spring 2026 primary election. In a release early Monday, the two-term sheriff touts his extensive experience locally in law enforcement and many years in administration. Sheriff Walker calls it an honor to serve the citizens of this great county and is thankful for the support he's been shown in his time as sheriff. Walker currently lives in Clinton and is a native of Pana, Illinois. He will be seeking the Republican nomination for the general election next November. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, average temperatures expected for the next few weeks. A local police department is working with ROSC to put on a community event. Lincoln Police Chief Joe Meister explains that they are teaming up with the Logan and Mason Counties ROSC, or Recovery-Oriented System of Care, to host an event called Breaking Barriers that aims to promote recovery from addiction and remove the stigma that can come with addiction. The event will be on August 9th and will feature guest speakers, food, and possibly even live music.
Police department's going to partner with Logan Mason ROSC, which is the Recovery-Oriented Systems of Care, in August, on August 9th from 12 to 3. We're going to hang out at Hope on 5th Street. We're going to have some speakers, maybe even some live entertainment, do a little cooking, maybe pork chop sandwiches or hamburgers and hot dogs, something like that. And the police and the recovery community are going to get together. We're going to call the event Breaking Barriers, and that's just to try to minimize some of the stigma that maybe the recovery community has about the police and the police have about the recovery community.
The chief indicates that both the general public and some police officers have harmful stigmas about people who struggle with addiction or mental health issues. He hopes that breaking the stigma of addiction will go both ways and break the stigma faced by police officers.
When you're talking about somebody who's in recovery, obviously they've had a problem with something at some point in time in their lives, whether that be drug, alcohol, or mental health. And there are certain stigmas, there's officers out there that maybe don't have all the experience built up yet that look at these folks like, the only time I ever see them, they're messed up, but it doesn't make them any better or worse than anybody else. So they're just another person in our community that we need to make sure that we have respect for. And when we show that, the reverse stigma also can be affected. These people look at cops as, if I see one of those guys, that means I'm going to take a ride I don't want to. And that's just not always true. And so we want to break those barriers down and address those stigmas from both sides.
The partnership between ROSC and the Lincoln Police Department is strong. Chief Meister says they are working with a number of local organizations on an initiative called Task Deflection.
Yeah, so ROSC is one of them, but we have many others that are partnering on a project called Task Deflection. Something that's actually going on here in DeWitt County, partnered with Pyatt and I think Champaign. Their group is. We will be Logan, Mason, and Menard counties. And this program is designed to get folks who are struggling the help they need, and they can do that through the police department. It's a program that's going to kind of replace what we used to have called Safe Passages. It has a little bit better resources than what we had back then. Yeah, the biggest number one thing is they'll have 4 full-time task deflection specialists and a supervisor. These are folks that are out in the field, boots on the ground, that will actually do what they call relentless engagement. So if there's a member of the community struggling, needs help with whatever kind of services, even if it's not not substance use services. It's just, social services. They go out and meet them every day and get them what they need and make sure they get to treatment or whatever they need. Make sure that they can get those services.
The Breaking Barriers community event takes place on August 9th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on 5th Street in Lincoln. Learn more about the department's community outreach efforts by visiting lincolnil.gov/police-department. Over the next 10 days or so, temperatures are expected to be normal for this time of year. Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln indicates temperatures this time of year are in the mid to upper 80s, and that's where we'll set up in central Illinois for the next several days.
The 6 to 10 and 8 to 14-day outlooks actually show just a near normal temperature profile, which is a change. We've been seeing that above normal, but there's like a below normal pocket right across the central and southern plains of temperature below normal. And we're normally in the mid 80s, so below normal can be, right around 80, but that would be comfortable. I mean, all the way through, let's see, the 8 to 14-day outlook goes all the way till the 16th of the month. So, it's not showing any kind of really deep heat, and all that heat is mainly in the Pacific Northwest and the northern plains. So we probably could have a decently comfortable or not excessive heat kind of period here in the first 2 weeks of July. Right. Yeah. July is our warmest month. We see 86 for a high for almost the entire month for normal. And then the low is 64 or so for almost the entire month. Right around there, mid 80s and mid 60s. That's not too bad. The dew point is where you get that uncomfortable situation setting up. But one thing about those outlooks, they are saying above normal precipitation potential. So we could have more cloud cover coming in here after this little bit of a break in the early part of the month without much rain. So possibly a few storm systems coming in. When you're below normal temperature outlook, that means you're probably going to have some storm systems keeping the air cooler and, giving you some rain. So hopefully, that'll help some of the drier areas of central Illinois there.
Not only is July the warmest month of the year, but it is also the wettest month of the year. Shimon indicates nearly 5 inches of rainfall in July, and some of that can come in very short bursts.
Yeah, July is our wettest month. We get 5 inches of rain in July. That's the most we get out of any month throughout the year, which basically means 2/10 of an inch of rain each day, almost almost a quarter inch of rain each day on average. So it's a lot, not quite a quarter inch, but 5 inches of rain for the month is a lot, and that usually falls in short bursts. Summertime rains, the big raindrops, the rainfall rates can be 2 to 3 inches an hour for shorter periods of time. And if those do last for a full hour, and you get 3 inches of rain in an hour, you're going to have some flooding. So that's the kind of the way it goes, ebb and flow, haves and have-nots in certain parts of the area in July timeframe.
According to Shimon, oftentimes the heat of the summer oscillates through the country, but he notes that is not something showing up in the outlooks.
Yeah, sometimes if they move around and oscillate across the country back and forth, that's what usually happens, but I'm not seeing that in the outlooks. It's showing the Northwest stays hot and the Northeast stays kind of warm. We're in that call zone in the middle where we're maybe able to have more of a storm track and less intense heat, probably some severe weather thrown in there though. Whenever you see cooler than normal and the storm system's coming in, severe weather potential kind of starts to come back into your thought process there. But in reality, if we have a cooler than normal first part of July, that'll help us because the dog days of summer of August probably are going to start rolling in eventually. We're going to probably see some sweltering heat in the August time frame based on the 3-month outlook showing us above normal for the rest of summer.
Slight precipitation chances are being forecasted for this week in central Illinois. Temperatures should hover in the mid to upper 80s most of the week. I'm Ben Hubbard. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a 60-second break with a quick word from our sponsors.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 19 minutes after the hour. I'm Ben Hubbard as we continue with this expanded morning newscast. No one wants to admit when they have a hard time taking care of themselves at home, but Synergy Home Care is working to make that challenge easier for individuals and families. Taylor Stevens, Regional Community Liaison with Synergy Home Care, explains they provide at-home care to seniors and those with disabilities all over Central Illinois to keep them in their homes rather than an assisted living center.
Synergy Home Care, what we do is we hire caregivers to go in the homes and help people of all ages remain independent and safe wherever they call home. So whether that's companionship, personal care, homemaker services, meal prep, transportation of any kind, all the things that one would need to stay safe in their home. We have locations in Bloomington, Champaign, Decatur, and Springfield. So we have a very good footprint over Central Illinois. But yeah, we're just here to help and just providing all the solutions. So that is one of the biggest things. You do not need a doctor referral for us in our services. In fact, I've thought about using us for my laundry because I'm busy. You do not need a doctor to say that you have to have this. Anybody can call. So you can either go online to synergyhomecare.com. You can call our office. All of our locations are 24/7. You can talk to our staff and just talk about what it is that you're needing. And what we do on the other side is just listen and listen to what your needs are, where those gaps are, and how we can help.
Stephen stresses you are never signing a contract when receiving care from Synergy. Rather, it's an agreement that can be adjusted to your specific needs.
So everything that is signed with us is not a contract. Everything is an agreement. It can be short-term, long-term, periodic, once a month, surgery recovery, whatever somebody's needing. I've been with Synergy Home Care 5.5 years, and I've never seen two clients have the same plan of care because everybody's day-to-day and normalcy is different. So we are going to customize that plan of care and schedule to the client, to their family. Everybody has different hands in whatever it's looking like. So it's not like you are locked into a contract for 2 years. We just need a 48-hour notice and we can get that set up. We are private pay, but we take long-term care, workers' comp, and we are credentialed with the VA as well. So there's a good chance if you know a veteran that they can get these services paid for, and we can help them navigate that as well and get them in contact with who they need to talk to. But yeah, the assessment part is completely free, no obligation. So our client care managers in each location would go to the client's home, do a safety check of the home, and talk with the family about what their needs are. And if they decide they want to sign, they can sign at that point. And we can get caregivers placed within 48 hours of that paperwork signing. But if they decide they want to think about it, or maybe they don't want to go this route, that's okay too. So there's no payment with that.
Synergy Home Care most often serves the elderly, especially after an incident such as a fall in the home. Stevens notes that while this is the most common, they can serve any needs that come their way.
There's a lot of different things. I would say falls. Our seniors, typically they're living at home and they're fine, and then they have a fall, whether that's a rug or they just got tripped over their feet or maybe became unbalanced. And there's a lot of different things that can go into that. But it usually starts with just a simple fall, and then it lands them in a rehab, and then they need PTOT, but they can't go home until they have home care. It's a whole trickle effect, really.
Yeah.
But there's so many different things. Or maybe somebody has lost a loved one and they just need a companion. as they're going through this transition, or they're going into a facility and they need a friend to help them with that transition as well. Dementia, Alzheimer's, really there's so many different things that are variables. And that's exactly what we do, is to be there for that solution and to truly enrich the lives. I always say it's not about how we get through a day, but how do we have the very best day. So just because, it's a little hard to get out and garden or go to a grandkids t-ball game, or maybe somebody's getting married, just because maybe you can't do those things anymore doesn't mean that you can't do them. We are going to help you do the things that you love to do or that you want to do, but let's do them safely.
All of the care providers from Synergy Home Care are employees, not volunteers. This means they are trained, licensed, and background checked through Synergy. This ensures the best and safest care that they can provide.
Yeah, all of our caregivers are licensed and bonded through us. They're background checked, fingerprinted, Alzheimer, dementia trained, CPR, first aid certified, all the things they are, and they are our employees. So all of the scheduling, all of that stuff goes through us. So you don't have to take that weight on of payroll and the schedule and when they're going to be there. We take care of all of that. Our caregivers pick their own schedule, which is wonderful for them. It's very flexible. If they have another job, if they're going to school, have kids, whatever that looks like. So if they want to take on more than one client, they can. If they want a consistent client, that's great. If it varies by week, it just depends. But each caregiver picks their own schedule. Sure. So during that assessment, I was talking about, the client care manager really gets in there and gets to know somebody. Who were you? What'd you do for a living? How many kids do you have? What do you enjoy to do? And then on the other end, our office staff does the same with our caregivers during the interview process. They get to know them. What are the things you like to do? Where's your experience at? How many kids do you have? Those types of things, so that we can play matchmaker and try and match that companionship side, because we call them caregivers, but truly they are friends. So we want to make sure that they have that. On top of, whenever we're placing our caregivers, it's on a star system. So a 1-star caregiver would be somebody who is experienced with housekeeping and companionship, all the way up to somebody who's a 4-star caregiver who is maybe a CNA or has experience equivalent to. And then we place them with our clients that is a 1 to 4 stars. So somebody using us for that housekeeping, all the way to somebody who's maybe on hospice services, requires transfers, full personal care, etc. We never want to place a caregiver in a home with somebody that does not have the experience equivalent to, because that's dangerous, and really you're just placing a warm body in a home.
Synergy is constantly communicating with their clients to make sure they are receiving the care they need. The care provider keeps detailed notes of their day-to-day so that trends can be noticed before the point of no return.
Sure. So communication is key. On top of being fully involved in the caregiver, in their plan of care, and our clients, we do have a notebook that goes in the home to where our caregivers are to run an ongoing timeline of their day. This is a really good way to stay in communication and to identify patterns before the point of no return. Maybe if we're seeing in there, Bob felt dizzy today, or he didn't eat, or he's not drinking, we can start to see these things. Maybe we can identify, maybe I think you need to get tested for a UTI or something like that, and we can catch it beforehand. It's also a really good way to have communication with those that are maybe have hands in on care. So the family member or close friends that come in, they can go through the notebook as well and see what all happened today, etc. And then maybe if our caregivers start to notice maybe a decline or something that's different, they contact the office and we can work with the family as well. So we truly do become that extension of family.
If you are interested in receiving care from Synergy Home Care for yourself or a loved one, visit synergyhomecare.com or call 877-432-2697 for more information. Again, that phone number is 877-432-2697. Now for your local obituaries. Marjorie Jane Gregory, 87, of Clinton, Illinois, passed away at 8:35 p.m. June 30th, 2025, at her family residence in Clinton. Services will be 2 p.m. Sunday, July 13th, at the Wapella Christian Church in Wapella, with Josh Gorey officiating. Private burial will follow at Memorial Park Cemetery in Clinton. Visitation will be 1 to 2 p.m. Sunday, July 13th at the church. The family has entrusted Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with arrangements. Memorials may be directed to the Wapella Christian Church. Nicholas Paul Ludwig, 27 years old, of Clinton, Illinois, passed away at 12:15 p.m. June 29th at his residence in Clinton. A celebration of Nick's life will be 12 noon Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with Pastor Dan Michael officiating. Visitation will be at 10 a.m. to 12 noon Wednesday at the funeral home. Memorials may be directed to the Nicholas Ludwig Memorial Fund, controlled by Bailey Ludwig. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWitt County's #1 place for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more. It's DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he